listening to The Common Constitutionalist, broadcast from an undisclosed location, free from the prying eyes of establishment black helicopters.
Welcome back to The Common Constitutionalist. This is The Common Constitutionalist coming at you. And I've got one topic today and one topic only. It's this Indiana, Arkansas, whatever, Religious Freedom Act thing. It's all such nonsense. And basically, it's not about religious freedom at this point. It's about homosexual fascism. That's all it's about, is fascism. Yeah, I know it's a nasty word and all, and it conjures up images of Mussolini and Hitler, but hey, if the shoe fits, brother. More to the point, it is the kind of the Republican response to the homosexual fascism that is growing rampant across the United States. Now, I've decided today not to do a Rate the Candidate segment, and it may be obvious later on. I'll explain later on why I'm not doing it, or it might become obvious. But at any rate, Arnold Schwarzenegger, the ex-Governator of California. Remember when Arnold said this? Remember back when Arnold was an actual man, a man's man? In 2003, when he called the Democrats girly men, and their panties got all cinched up, and they just had hissy fits, like girly men would do, frankly. And the Republicans, the conservatives, it was a laugh riot hearing this stuff and hearing the Democratic response, or the Democrat response to this nonsense. How about in 2006 when he was having a press conference out in California, and he gave some advice to Mexicans coming to the U.S., and he said basically, you got to first work hard, you have to learn English. What? Learn English in the United States of America? How could that be, Arnie? But that's what he said. And you have to learn the history. You have to learn the history of America. Actually learn what the United States is all about. And you have to make an effort. You have to become part of America, not just live here. Can you believe anybody said this? What an antiquated and silly notion that Arnie had. Demanding that the illegals that come across the border do so legally and try to fit into American society by learning English, learning American history, and becoming part of the United States. Oh, the horror. How about in 2004, after the Republicans won nationwide, and then I don't know if it was a reporter or somebody asked him whether he would listen to he would still listen to California Democrats' tax proposals. He said, "Why should I listen to losers? Let's be honest." That's awesome. Everybody loved it. This was back when they actually wanted to amend the Constitution so that the Governator could run for president. Oh, man. Well, I don't know what happened to Arnie, man. Because now he wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post about the Indiana legislation. He didn't say anything about Arkansas. I think it was just he concentrated on Indiana. Arnold wrote, "As a Republican, I'm furious, and that the Indiana's anti-gay legislation will hurt the GOP." Now, my first question is that why is everything that's good for America, why is everything that's good for liberty, good for freedom, bad for the GOP? You ever ask yourself why? Why? I don't understand. It's ridiculous to think this, but this is the way these establishment Republicans think. And I don't know what happened to Arnold Schwarzenegger, but he quickly became an establishment Republican. Well, maybe it wasn't that quick, but he became an establishment darling. And he's fallen right in line with these bums. So it seems now that anything that the Democrats or the loony left doesn't like is bad for the GOP. Is that about what he's saying? shrinking government, not spending as much as you take in. That's bad for the government. Letting illegals pour into the country and not closing the border, that's bad for the GOP. Universal health care of any kind controlled by the government somehow is bad for the GOP if we do away with it and don't just repeal and replace with some other government organization or government entity. Which, by the way, for any of you Trump people, any of you Trumpettes, Trump said that exact thing back in 2000, and I don't believe he's ever rescinded that statement. He said basically, and I'm getting off track here a little bit, but I know a conservative here in New Hampshire who I thought was at least as conservative as I am, which is frankly hard to believe. But he's a Trumpette now. I don't understand it for the life of me, but he really loves Trump, maybe because Trump talks a good game. But at any rate, I remember reading that Trump said, a quote that Trump said, that he is for universal health care. This was back in 2000. He was for universal health care, that he was a conservative, but on this issue, he was a liberal. How do you square that? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. It's you're either conservative or there's no in-between here, folks. That's called establishment Republican. That's the in-between, the squishy middle. But at any rate, I digress. Sorry about that, folks. So Arnie, in this op-ed in the Washington Post, of course it's in the Washington Post, right, says that he believes that the defining problem is that Republicans are focusing on the wrong issues in a move that will only hurt the GOP and further alienate voters, of course. He said that the GOP should be focusing on issues that matter. Are you ready for this? Sitting down, such as airport delays, graduation rates, and, of course, air pollution, global warming. Well, he didn't say global warming. He just said air pollution. Those are the issues that the GOP should be concentrating on. Airport delays, graduation rates, and air pollution? Are you kidding me? There's a winning platform for you. So Arnie continues. As an American, I'm not going to do Arnie's accent anymore. It's ill, and I don't do it well, so forget about it. As an American, I'm incredibly concerned about what happened in Indiana this week and the threat of similar laws being passed in other states. But as a Republican, I'm furious. Oh, Arnie, how could you? So my next question is that why is it necessary to even have these laws? Doesn't the First Amendment of the Constitution, you know, that dusty old document that nobody reads, opens up, or understands anymore, or certainly if they understand it, they don't do anything about it. The First Amendment, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or the free exercise thereof. There's your law. That's it. What do you need a law for? What do you need anything additional beyond that? The founders were brilliant people, and we should listen to them a little more often than we do, because they take a 1,000-page law or 500-page law or even a 50-page law and condense it down to a couple of sentences to get the point across, and that's all you need. Or the free exercise thereof. If you are a homosexual that wants to come into my business and buy a cake, fine, I got no problem, I'll sell you a cake. But if you want me to cater your wedding or make a wedding cake with Chuck and George on top making out, then forget about it. It's against my religious beliefs, if I so believe that. It's against my free exercise of religion to make you that cake and be party to your wedding, which I don't believe in. Where's the question mark here? Where's the debate? It doesn't make any sense. But, hey, governments make laws. That's all governments are for. They're not for protecting us. They're not for doing anything. They're not for protecting one against the other, states against states. It's not for anything. They're just making, the governments are now for making silly laws. That's all they're good for, and that ain't good for nothing. Arnie continued that he says he knows plenty of Republicans who are sensible and driven to solve problems for America. Yeah, you don't know a single one that's going to solve a single problem for America. He says that this message is not for them. It is for Republicans who choose the politics of division over the policies that improve the lives of us all. Oh, man. If this isn't establishment speak, what is? He says that if we want our party to grow and last, we must be focused on real solutions to problems we are facing, like airport delays. That's something we can all get behind. But distracting let me start that again. But distracting, divisive laws like the one Indiana passed aren't just bad for the country, they're also bad for our party. Okay? Polls show, here's the famous polls. Polls show that laws like this are not supported by independents, women, minorities, or Americans between 18 and 29. So we got the geriatric set sewn up, I suppose. But funny thing about this one, Arnie, back in 2008, when you were the Governator, and during the Prop 8 gay marriage vote, ban vote, that passed in your liberal state of California, and still to this day, experts are wondering why and how in heaven's name that passed in California. Well, one of the reasons why it passed is that minorities, blacks, voted 70% in favor of banning gay marriage. 7 out of 10 blacks voted to ban gay marriage in the liberal state of California. There's your minority vote, Arnold. He said that if the Republican Party wants the next generation of voters to listen to our ideas and solutions to real problems, like airport delays, I guess, this just cracks me up. We must be inclusive and open, and an open party, not a party of divisions. Oi. So I suppose we must be inclusive and open to everyone except for those who have a religious belief. Is that about right? No, excuse me. Let me rephrase that. A Christian religious belief. If you're a Muslim, if you're, I don't know what the Buddhists believe, whatever, cows or sacred or something, I don't know what it is. But at any rate, that's the only religion that you're allowed to discriminate is the Christian religion now. And that's okay. Everyone else, not so much, but Christians, discrimination, that's okay. So basically now, Mike Pence, the governor of Indiana, has signed off on an amended version of the Indiana law, and Asa Hutchinson followed suit in Arkansas. Way to go, both you bums. To align them to the, I think it was the 1993 Freedom of Religion Act or something, whatever, Religious Freedom Act in the United States, and had broad bipartisan support. Matter of fact, everybody, including people like Chuck Schumer and whatnot, voted for this thing. The problem with that law and the benefit of the Indiana law, and I believe the Arkansas law, was that the federal law doesn't include private businesses. So if you're a public entity or whatnot, or if the government has anything to do with it, you can, the ban's in place or whatever it happens to be. But if you're a private business, you can't deny anybody service for any reason, it seems, which is completely ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. You should be able to deny service on the basis of your religion, and that's just the way it is. If you don't like it as a patron, go somewhere else. It's your right, a free right, to go somewhere else. There will be another business around the corner that will be willing to cater to your needs. Well, not quite, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But there's almost somewhere else that you'll be able to go. The fact is that anyone who complained about this, the original Indiana law, either never read it, which is bloody likely, is lying about it, which again is bloody likely, or is just a fascist. Basically, if they don't like it, they're going to take their ball and go home. and you're forced to play their game. And if you don't want to play their game, the government is going to come in and force you to play their game, or they're going to close your butt down, period. That sounds like freedom to me. So here's the, I don't know if it's the comic relief or whatnot, but this is what we all suspected would happen, and this is exactly what happened. The conservative firebrand, Steven Crowder, who has the site Louder with Crowder, he took his hidden camera. I don't know if it was a guy holding a hidden camera, or it was someone button camera or something like that. But he went into Dearborn, Michigan, which has a probably 100% Muslim population at this point, or bloody close anyway. Rush calls it Dearbornistan. But at any rate, he went into these Muslim bakeries. On every street, it seems there's a Muslim bakery. I don't know. I guess they like baked goods. But at any rate, he was really nice. He was kind. He was courteous. He made no demands. He wanted a wedding cake for a gay wedding. He told them what he wanted to put on them, and they politely declined, every single one of them. They didn't leave him empty-handed. They said that, well, you go down the street and you go to this one. So he went to that one. They said the same thing. They sent him to another one, said the same thing, and it just kept happening. Have you seen eyeball news darken the door of any Muslim bakery? Because I haven't. Wonder why that is. I'll tell you why that is. Because the Christian bakery, if you go in there and you make demands of them, or you put some stupid blankety-blank and hypothetical out to them, and they answer in the way you think they're going to answer, and then, well, you're discriminating against gays, you hate gays, and blah, 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 blah. And nothing else will happen. They'll either fold or cave or close their doors like they had to because of protests and this other nonsensical crap. But Muslim bakeries, maybe the little girl in Eyeball News didn't want her head cut off, or her hands cut off, or her family targeted, or whatever. I don't know. But the bottom line is the liberal press is scared to death of the Muslims. And frankly, considering their reputation, they have every right to be. But they're certainly not being treated as equal, that's for sure. So the reason why I may be obvious, may not be, but the reason why I didn't do a Rate the Candidate series is because of this issue. All you have to know about the Republican candidates of your choice, all you have to know how these Republicans will govern, is to how they react to this fake bakery scandal. Either a president will govern with a set of unwavering principles, so to speak, or they'll throw them away, hide under the resolute desk in the Oval Office, and compromise at the first hint of conflict. That's all you got to know about the candidates. Just look at how they reacted, what they said about this incident, and it'll tell you exactly how they're going to govern if they ever make it to the White House. It has nothing to do with this particular issue. It has everything to do with whether they will fold at the first sight of conflict, whether they're afraid of their own shadows, whether they're going to compromise what little values they have away, or whether they're going to stand up and fight for them, whether they have unwavering values, a set of values that they simply won't waver from. The blueprint for the unwavering is, in fact, Scott Walker in Wisconsin. Look at what this poor son of a gun had to deal with, or has to deal with. He's been doing this for years and years and years, and he has not once backed down. And he's shown them what for, so to speak. And that's the point. You don't back down, and eventually you will prevail. And he's shown it. Whether he was going to be voted out of office, it didn't matter to him. He was not going to back down from his principles, and he won the day each and every time. And that's the blueprint for the GOP, Arnie. And frankly, that's why the left, and hell, even the establishment, want to take out these true conservatives, because they're scared to death of them. They don't know what to do with such an executive. They've never had to fight. The left only knows one way. They gin up an issue, they make a big fuss over something, and they expect the Republicans to compromise and capitulate, which they almost always do. But when somebody like Walker or Cruz comes along and won't play by their rules, they're completely lost. They don't know what to do, and all they can do is have a hissy fit. It's completely uncharted territory for the leftists. And so all they can do is just shout louder, become more hysterical, more unhinged, and more ridiculous. But in one regard, the lefty loons are like everybody else. No one, including them, can maintain a level of intensity for very long. You eventually have to take a break or just quit altogether. And that's what will happen, is they'll eventually peter out. You just have to have the patience and the fortitude to stand up to these people long enough for them to just peter out and go away. Nobody can protest forever. Sooner or later, even they will get sick of it if they don't think that they're making any progress or any headway. And that's the key to fighting these fascist leftists, is you never give them an inch. You never give them a single opening. If they sense that the right looks like they might compromise even a tiny little bit, on any issue, it doesn't matter what it is, that'll be enough to get the second wind, and they're off ramping up the lunacy again. So what's next for the put upon leftists? Is it going to be, the policy of no shirt, no shoes, no service? Well, I think that's discriminatory against the shoeless and the shirtless. It's not their fault that they can't afford shoes and shirts. Maybe the government needs to provide them with shoes and shirts so they can get service at the local deli or the local convenience store. Therefore, I think that there should be a federal law against no shoes, no shirt, no service. All of those signs should come down. And while we're at it, dress codes in fancy restaurants, I think they're discriminatory. It's discriminating against the poorly dressed. It's not their fault they're poorly dressed. And how about reservations? I think they're discriminatory. Why should I have to make a reservation to eat at a fancy restaurant with a dress code? I should be able to go there without shoes and without a shirt with no reservation. It's my right as an American, don't you think? So if I'm a Democrat and I can't figure out how to register to vote or even find my way to the polling place, how can anyone expect me to wear a shirt and shoes, a dress code, and make a reservation for a fancy restaurant ahead of time? How is that even possible? I can't even register to vote. My point is, where is the idiocy going to end? If we continue to capitulate to these leftist fools, it will never end. They will never be satisfied. They're not going to be satisfied with the new law that Pence and Asa Hutchinson amended. They're not going to be satisfied with that. Are you kidding me? You think they're going to placate these fools? That's not going to happen. It's going to go on and on and on until you people figure out that you got to stand up to these idiots and not back down. I guess that's about all the ranting I've got for today. This is the Common Constitutional signing off, and y'all have a great day. I plan on it.